there we go, guys. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to the stream here. I certainly hope you guys are doing well, because I'm going pretty good myself. Now, today's going to be a little different with Planet Coaster, because we are done with Thunder Falls. I know if you were here last stream, you kind of saw it end kind of prematurely, and unfortunately, if you guys did not hear yet, I had a power failure at my house. I say at my house. Pretty much the entire city lost power for about 20 or 30 minutes, unfortunately. So, a little bit of an odd situation, but I think everything's good now. Hopefully, everything's going to work out today. But I did decide last stream was going to be the last stream we did work on Thunder Falls, and while there might be a few things we still I might need to clean up a little bit, I'm pretty sure that we're just going to say, for right now, it's done. You always got to, there's a point in Planet Coaster where you got to say something is done. And I think we're kind of at that point with Thunder Falls right now. So, let me go ahead and pop into the game here. I'll show you what the completed ride looks like, and some other smaller things I did off stream too, just to kind of help complete a few things, or work on a few things that I didn't maybe think that I didn't think would be quite as exciting to see. So let's go ahead and pop into the game here. I got it loaded up. And I forgot to change it over here on Streamlabs. Let me go ahead and change that real quick so you guys can see it. I think I might just keep my camera right there, because with Planet Coaster, it doesn't cover up anything. So, yeah, there we go. So here is the completed Thunder Falls. So the station really didn't change much at all. As a matter of fact, I don't think it changed anything on the station itself. But as we move down this way towards the entrance here, you actually will see there is some new fencing down here. Got some more bushes, things like that. I really didn't have any idea of what to do here, and I think this fence kind of makes sense. I don't really want people jumping over and right into the ride here. It's not a great idea. So I'm also thinking I might need to extend this fence down just a little bit to the bridge here, so that they actually have a support here. But you can see here, all of it's now, bushed up, stuff like that. It's a little sloppy, I'll be honest with you. And maybe this is an area that was kind of neglected for a little bit, and maybe now we're just, they're just kind of realizing that now, and maybe they need to come back in here and work on it a little bit more. Also did some rock work here. Technically, there is no barrier between here, but it would be kind of hard to climb over these rocks to get to the ride. I mean, I'm sure someone could do it, but fair enough. And then down here, I just kind of bushed in this area. I'll probably add a few more trees and stuff like that, but I don't quite know what I'm going to do here yet. So because of that, I didn't want to cover up all this with trees and then all of a sudden have to remove a lot of them, because I want to put something else here. So yeah, if you look here, we actually have our temple still. If you were here last year, the power outage happened after this, so this was all auto-save, so this is still our work. Really, the only thing I lost was these kind of bushes in here, so we went ahead and added these bushes in here. I did go ahead and raise the cliff side here, so if you're actually going from a guest point of view, I won't go on a Tedget cam, but if you look to kind of down here, you can actually see that, yeah, pretty well you don't see anything, which is kind of what I wanted. I didn't want to have the ride too spoiled, but maybe develop through the story of the museum here and things like that. But no, I think it actually looks really nice, especially when you get out here. Merchandise store. Still haven't put any photos in the photo section yet, but I think I do like how the merchandise store is now. That's pretty much all it was to finish Thunder Falls. We actually come over here on the back side of the ride here and kind of show you what that is like. Looks very nice on here. I do quite like how the falls are looking. And actually in the backstage area, it's a little more obvious than not, but you do have our big crane that we did build last time. I do quite like how that looks. Pretty proud of how it turned out too. It actually looks like it has two cranes on it, so they actually can have multiple attachment points to the car itself. I did add a few fences back here, just to kind of block it off from, make sure that no one's trying to climb up this cliff here. Got a few garbage cans back here, because I figured they would have some sort of garbage. I did start doing a little bit of a maintenance truck back here. I didn't know what else to put on the truck, so I kind of left it blank for now. But yeah, it's a good maintenance area. There's a tunnel here that actually would lead back up to the road here. Might be right up here. But I'm also thinking I might just bring the tunnel around and actually have an entrance here, so they didn't have to dig as much out. So it makes a little bit more sense to me. And then if we go into the cave here, didn't really do much on this one. We do have the kind of the inside statue here with the golden arms. Just kind of give you a little bit of a story. I don't really know what the story would be exactly on this one. But also, I realized last time, I don't think I took you inside the control room at all. So here's what the control room looks like, and you actually can see that we have quite a few. I can't remember who makes these. This is a Theme Maker's Toolkit item, and I'm pretty sure it's Shunt. Whoever makes that, they're amazing. But yeah, they make some really good stuff like this, and I thought it would be appropriate. If we set the game in motion here, you guys can hear the water going by. Let me turn the game audio up just a little bit. You actually can see we got a raft coming through here shortly. You kind of can see that there's actually quite a bit of like a line of sight here, especially in the cave. So I think it would make a lot of sense. So you can actually see the raft coming through here. It's a pretty wide. I used the wide path, and I didn't know how that was going to work, but I think it looks rather nice. Yes, you would know there's a control room here, but I think with the double panes of glass and kind of how it's angled, I don't think you'd be able to see anybody up here. We do have an archer back here, just so that we can see kind of scale-wise. This would also have been like a security area, so they'd have multiple cameras around, so that they can see if someone's trying to jump off or not. And then if you look back here, this actually is a little cave here, and this door actually leads into the museum back over here, just at the entrance, right next to the big statues here. So that's pretty neat. And then if we float on down the ride here, if I can figure it out, there it is. You guys can see here, if you guys weren't here last time, we did have this little crash scene. There is a plane prop still spinning. Let's set that to stationary. So now that should look just like a plane's prop just sitting there. So I thought about this last time. You really can't see that engine, actually, can you? Let me actually pull this out just a little bit more so you guys, so they, guests can see it. That didn't work out at all. Let me try that one more time here. And that's where it's going to stay. So now when that stops spinning, you'll actually see kind of the, you guys see it a little bit better. I actually kind of like this scene, and I remember I even took the time a little bit, and if you look at it from this angle, you actually can kind of see where the plane came down and cut the bushes away. I like how that looks, and I like that just a little detail. It's not a whole lot, and it was really easy to do. But I think it adds a little bit more story that, yes, there was a plane that crashed somewhat recently here. And then you got the landing gear and some cargo and parts of the wing and stuff like that here. And as you flow in the river more, you actually get down to the temple where we finish it up. A lot more green on this side, not a whole lot of color. But I did try to incorporate some of that bamboo just to kind of break up that green a little bit. And I think that worked out pretty well. So that's pretty much all we've done on Thunder Falls here. That's pretty much all I want to do for right now. I don't know, the fencing I'm still kind of iffy on because it kind of looks out of place. So I might have to try to maybe kind of curtail it down this way, just kind of bring it down at an angle until it disappears behind the rocks here, and extend it to the bridge here. But I think this is a good way to kind of finish that off. I could add a little more detail to the station here. I don't know if we really need it or not. There's some music going on somewhere. I think it's going to be over here at Breakdance. But speaking of music, I kind of wanted to get to the idea of this episode. And if you look at the title of the stream, it says a new restaurant. And this is kind of the area I wanted to work on. And so I had an idea for... this kind of came up... Oh, also, I forgot something else I did. I did work on this plaza a little bit. Just kind of work on adding more squares here and things like that. I don't know if I'm going to keep all these yet. I don't know. Kind of how that came out angle-wise. I didn't like it as well as I thought it would, but I'll keep on thinking about that. I don't know if I'm going to keep that or not. But yeah, this is kind of the plaza I want to start working on. And right here, I wanted to put a restaurant. And I was thinking what kind of restaurant I wanted to put here. And I got to thinking about where I used to work. And my first job was at a place called Hank's Burrito Shack. It's now called something else now. But at the time, it was the first kind of, think of it like a Chipotle, but it was in an amusement park. It was a little bit different food, but it was still a Chipotle-esque place. But the odd part I always thought was it was actually in a place called the area of the park that it was in was called Oktoberfest. So it was very German inspired. So like that, they actually had what they called the Fest House, which is the Fest Haus. But also on the back of the restaurant I used to work at was the beer garden. And so it was a Mexican grill up front and a beer garden in the back. And I thought it was just totally out of place. But for some reason it worked, and I don't know why. And that's kind of how I kind of feel here. This area is like a 1980s section of the park, and so I'm like, all right, cool. What would be totally off here? Just to put in this park here. So we got, the big coaster. We got some of the what they call the German boomerang ride here. Funny enough. And the bumper cars, kind of a little more Americana a little bit. And I'm thinking, well, what would work? And I keep coming back to the of an Irish pub. Because I wanted to put a beer garden here. I think this would be a great place for one, because I wanted to kind of emulate that kind of idea of of my original job, and I think that'd be hilarious to put a beer garden back here. But I also kind of like the idea of like a pub fair, because I'm not a drinker myself, but they always have really great food there, like fish and chips. They have great burgers, stuff like that. There's one I go to nearby, and it's called the Bag of Nails, which is a really good. Like, it's a pub, but it's like a lot more of a restaurant. I think it is, but we used to go there quite a bit and eat. So something like that, I think, would be a great, something, just a nice area. That's kind of what I started with, I should say. And I get thinking more and more. I'm like, all right, how would I want to do this? Things like that. And I got this idea because I've been watching the Disney Imagineering story, and I finished it late last week. And I had this idea. I was like, all right, I want to put a story behind this, because I think if you have a story, it kind of drives the whole project forward. So I got thinking a little bit. I'm like, all right, cool. How do I want to do a beer garden, but I also want to do a pub as well? So I'm thinking what we do here is we have kind of this L shape here. We actually have the main building. This building will actually contain things like the actual like restaurants for the game. So it looks like people can enter this place, grab food and stuff like that. And as they walk out the back, I want to have a beer garden-esque place. It's not really going to be quite a beer garden, because they're going to be a little bit different. Because the story I started to come up with, let's see if I can get this. Let me pull up Google real quick. I just want to get some reference photos and things like that going, so I have an idea of how I want to do this. But kind of the idea was, the story I had kind of come up with is, there was a couple different names I was thinking of, like Mick Finnegan's was one of them. It was something, there was another Mick. It's like McGilkin or something like that. Whatever the name is. I haven't decided on the name yet. But he owns this little corner pub here. And in the back alley of behind his store, he throws a party every night. And so every night there's a live band there. There's always people dancing. There's always people eating food and drinking, things like that. And it was called the back alley because it's going to be behind his bar and kind of in between these houses. And people always complain, but no one ever shuts them down. It's kind of the idea of the story. And so the building's going to be here, the main building for the food and things like that. You'll have a bar behind it. You'll be able to kind of be like a diagonal path out this way. You'll be able to walk through the building out into the big patio area here. I'm thinking we actually build a couple facades here to kind of help separate this area off a little bit. Kind of looks like it has like apartment buildings and stuff like that kind of around it to make it look like it's in the middle of a middle of a street here. And then there'll be entrance and exits to the patio here and probably over here somewhere. And I kind of just want to give this place a little more atmosphere, just a little more themed than I would think. And then me and my dad were talking about this the other night, and he's got a couple ideas that I think are hilarious. I just don't know how I'm going to quite do yet. So yeah, I think what I also want to do is I also want to break up this patio or this area here, because it is a massive area, and I don't think, from what I remember, from what I know from amusement parks, there's not really huge areas like this. So what I plan on doing is using two of these squares wide. So something like this, or something like that, maybe like a 2x4 or 2x5 that just has, it's like a cordoned off area. It can be a sitting area, probably like a smoking area. If you've ever been to like Kings Island's Cody Mall, they have these areas right in the middle that are usually shaded pretty well, but they just have benches there that are kind of away from everybody. They're kind of sectioned off in this whole area that they can sit and or there might just be it might just be a sitting area. It's like, let's say a family came to the park and like the parents didn't want to ride the coaster, but the kids did. Jump in the line here. The parents come in here over here and sit, and they have they kind of have 2 or 3 rides they can go ride while the parents just sit here and enjoy the day. Something like that I think would work. So I'm going to start with that first because I don't think that'll take us too long, and then we'll actually move on to planning out the restaurant here. All right. Here, the first things first, we got to figure out where I want to put this thing. So because of that, I do want to put up a barrier. Let's see here. Also, I did get some really cool Theme Makers Toolkit stuff today, and I'll show those off here shortly. I think I want to start with just a barrier here. Maybe do something like this. Like this. Turn this around. There and there. So this is kind of the first idea. So I'll block this section off and I'll put seats around here. You'll be able to walk through this section here, and then I'll have something kind of like that in the middle here. So we'll put one there. You know what? To actually make this a little more lined up, especially for this is going to be on this path here. Something like that, maybe a little more. Over, and then I'll do the same on this. You know what? I will just drag this barrier. Well, here, hold on. Let's do this. Let's go ahead and just add the barriers to a group, and then I'll. That's not what I want to do. It looks right. I'll just make this the scenery group. We make the sitting area out of. See how much room we're getting on this side here. I think we're about the right size. And so that's what I want to do here. I want to drag this over to about there. Right in there somewhere. We can always move these a little later. And then I want to add these. I'm going to duplicate them. Pull these down here and put the angle snap on. Rotate them 180 degrees. And then move this to about there. That's about how big I want this place. It's not massive, but if you watch now as guests move through this area, they'll actually stay around the outside of these things. That's kind of the idea. So now that we have everybody cleared out of this area, we can go ahead and start editing these. I have an idea of how I want to do this a little bit already. I want to start out with some concrete, just like a thick concrete slab around the bottom of every one of these. But I think what I want to use is not actually concrete; it's something else. So we might just have to scroll through here. That might be a little big for what we need. Of course, we can always make our own concrete out of like windows. That would take a little while longer. And I don't think it's going to be tall enough for what I'm thinking here. These footers might work. Hold on here. They're a little too dark. That looks a little bit better. It's supposed to be concrete. This says coaster supports. You know what? I'm okay with it. They're about the right size I want anyways. So let's do something like this. Move them over. And now I'm starting right in the middle of them, which is not probably ideal, but ooh well. Something like that. Kind of the whole idea is I do want to hide these barriers, and it probably eventually will. I might just pull them through the ground so nobody sees them. It's kind of a common thing to do, but do something like this. Now work our way around this way. Like so. You know what? Let's pull this one out just a little bit more. That looks better. And I'll pull this one out just a little bit more so we can match up with it. Like that. And there we go. I think that'll, you kind of get the idea of how big this place is going to be. It's not massive. That's not the idea. This is really just be a nice sitting area. It's like not even to eat at. It's just going to be a nice sitting area. I think that's something that people kind of overlook. I don't think people realize how many benches are in parks like this. There's going to be a lot of benches. There's going to be a lot of just areas you can sit and just enjoy the day. Because parks like this are not just for rides. They're supposed to be for their whole family. Some of them have kind of strayed away from that, and they've kind of focused on one, kids or adults or whatever. But I would say for the most part, you try to cater to as many, you try to cater to the whole family. You know what? Let's delete that. Let's do it this way. This might work out a little bit better. Maybe. Why is this not? It's not wanting to cooperate this time. Alrighty, let's do that and slide this into place. Like that, and then if we move that over here, like that, I can kind of get an idea of how or where I can put these blocks at. I was a little confused. It's like I didn't want to. Kind of want to make sure they're equal. I mean, I know I'm not gonna be able to do it perfectly, but so I want to make sure I can get as close to it as I can. All right. So like that. So that'll be our foundation. So now that we know kind of where we have our barriers at, we'll go ahead and hopefully try to collect all these barriers up in one, and we'll sink them down into the concrete here shortly. Alright, so I'll just sink these down here, so you won't be able to see them, but they still actually do their job, because the people will still walk around them. So now they'll hopefully walk around the concrete here. It won't be perfect, I'll be honest with you, but it'll work. I'm gonna look at some brick here. So kind of the idea, I want to put some brick on each of the corners here. The problem is I think these are going to be too big. And so, because of that, I think I'm going to have to do... What if we did something like... Hold on, so I can... I'm trying to get this... I got an idea. Let's see if I can do this, though. Do I like this one better? I think I like this one better. If I rotate this down like this, pull this up just a little bit, just have it barely poking out there. Well, not poking out, but make sure it just barely doesn't poke out there, so that people don't walk into it. Something like that, though. Move the same thing on the other side here. How much on each side do we have? Not a whole lot, but I think that'll work. And do something like this, kind of each corner. I'll just use this since they're thankfully the move it thing is not interfering on how the arrows are orientated. Because if you saw here, there's a bit of a glitch sometimes where they'll just throw it in a random orientation, and the arrows, you're trying to move it in a specific way, and it's really off kilter. But I think that looks pretty good. The next thing I wanted to do, though, is actually add in some wrought iron fencing. Because I did this out in the parking lot area, and I loved how it looked, and I think this would work really well here. And I don't remember what... Oh, I think I used this fence. Could be wrong, though. You know what? I bet you it was this fence. I almost can guarantee you it was this fence, but... So, let's... why is it not aligned to surface? So, if I can do this... move this as far over as I can. Well, if I can line it up like that, it's even better. And do this. Line it up like that. Rotate it upwards. And like that. I don't mind if it's sticking up a little bit because I'm going to cover them up anyways. But I want to kind of align that a little bit more centrally. I think that looks pretty good. Let's move this over here. Have that in there, and then we'll rotate. We'll finish. We'll do 1C first to kind of show you what kind of my ideas on how I want to do this, and then we'll start. We'll do the rest of them here shortly. So there's that one. There we go. Now, we have this in there. I kind of want to do a little bit of a top to this. So, because I mean, the bricks are nice, or the iron is nice, but I think I want to add in just a little bit more, a different, a little bit more rock work. I know, like all the spikes on there, because I mean, in a park like this, you would have small kids that might try to be running around. They could smack their face into it and not be a good time. But I'm trying to think. There's what I'm looking for. So this decorative stuff here. I'm gonna rotate this upward. Line this up. Huh? I don't know if I like that. You know what? What would happen if we just raised these up to just to the iron line there? That's actually about even, and I'm gonna put a. The reason I didn't care if the spikes stuck up on the outside there, I did plan on putting a cap on each one of them, something like this. Let's see if this will work. Do. I think that might work. And that'll cover up pretty much everything. Let me double check and make sure. There's a little bit poking out there, but I think from where we're going to see it mostly, you'll have no idea what that is, and you won't care. So that's kind of the idea I want to go for. Let me just kind of... This one might be a little more difficult. You know what? I bet you we can move this fence just a little bit. Not a whole lot, but we can move it just a little bit to where both sides are covered up. So perfect. Nope, that one needs to be fixed. And like that. Well, that needs to be fixed a little bit more. Now, because these rocks are not quite straight, they will they'll stick out a little bit on kind of unevenly. But I think that looked pretty good. So the next thing I want to put up is just some lights actually on top of these things. So I'll go over to lights here. There's one I'm thinking of that I think will work out really well here. Lights. Where is the lights I'm thinking of at? Aha, this one. Apparently this is supposed to be like a spooky lamp, but kind of like how that looks. The other idea I had would be I could do something like this. Let me bring this down here. Which I would just sink it down to the ground like that. Or I could do something like this. Maybe. The right way up? Yeah, it's got to be the right way up. I think that's, yeah. I mean, if we're, because I'm thinking about putting some, well, let's try one more thing. I'm planning on putting maybe some smaller plants over here. I don't know what would look good here. You know what I mean? It's a little bit of a kind of a choice of, you know, what I like. I'm just trying to think what I want to do. Honestly, I think these might be a little short, and so let's go with these. Let's go ahead and move them, and then we'll make sure they're in the right orientation. Rotate this up. They also match some of the street lamps we already have around, like the restroom, things like that. So I think this is probably the best choice we have. So let's do something like this maybe, and actually just kind of bring it down like that. It's a little bit taller than what the other one was, and so I think that'll work out a little bit better. And it, you know, once again, it actually does match some of the other ones we have. So move this over this way, like so. Yeah, that looks really nice. And then let's go ahead and put some benches down, because this is kind of the whole point of this area. Shoot, what kind of bench? I thought we used benches over here. I did. Something like this. Like that. Like, you know what? Actually, I want to move, because I want to probably move that bench out a little bit more. So let's go ahead and delete that. Like that. Put some trash cans in here. So I'm like, I kind of like the 3 benches across like that, but I think just a few trash bins would kind of tie this area off, and I used these. Don't know why I use these, but I think they look kind of cute. Look kind of a little older, but I think that works just fine. So you kind of get an idea of how I wanted to design the rest of this. I'm still trying to figure out how in the world I'm going to put trees in here. The thing I can do, I guess, I can put a planter here and put like a real small tree kind of growing out of there. That might work pretty well. All right, so let's go back and edit this one. Let's go ahead and put all the caps on. And we might not need this much light, I'll be honest with you. But what we're going to do, we're going to add them in. If we need to take some away, we always can. And if we don't, then we don't do anything. So that's awesome. Alright, now we need some wrought iron fencing. Get that. I don't know if it'll let me select it. You know, funny enough, you know, this every once in a while this game will kind of lock up like this because it's saving, and you know, when you're trying to save a file this kind of large, it can get a little slow. I complained about that a lot last episode, and then power went out, so we didn't hardly lose anything because of an autosave. So, you know, a little hypocritical, but you know, it is kind of nice. Yeah, it's kind of a necessary evil almost. So, let's get a little careful with them. That's all. Like that. I'm liking how this is looking so far. I'm thinking I can just do this. Copy this over to there. And move this. This might be a little bit trickier because of it's a little bit odd scaling wise. So do something like that. I think that'll work. And then let's do this. Bring this all the way over here. Yeah, I think this will be pretty much perfect where what we're looking for. And I think right in here, I'm going to put like 4 benches, and I'll put a trash can in the middle there. But I'll put a little bit bigger, I'll probably put some sort of planter in here, just to kind of, kind of break this area up, provide some shade for this area. So I think it'll work out pretty good. Something like that. Get some trash cans there and there. Put trash can right in the middle here and here. All right, I think that looks pretty good so far. It's kind of what I'm going for, so you guys can actually see it a little bit easier of what I'm thinking here. The next thing I want to do is I want to add just a couple planters, probably a little bit longer one here, and probably just small ones here and here, just to kind of break it up a little bit more, provide a little bit more shade. So I think there is actually some planters we actually can add in, like right here. And I don't use these very often, so it's probably, it's a nice thing to try out. See, something like this. This is all I'm thinking here. Maybe something like there. We can change the color of it a little more just to kind of help match the faded red of the brick. Darker. Add a little more red to it. Yeah, that looks better. Make sure it's kind of centered here. Needs to go to the left a little bit more. Go, and then we'll need to move it out just a little bit more this way. Alright, so that's kind of the idea of what I wanted to do. Let's go ahead and we'll put just a small tree there. I think that'll work out pretty well. Maybe a nice birch tree. I think maybe this might work out. I kind of want a tree that's looks a little more top heavy, so that the leaves aren't just hanging down. But that might work. Another birch tree here. I don't think a poplar. Yeah, poplar's a little large there for what we're thinking. There was an ash tree too. ASH. Where would that be at? That might be a little large. You know what? I bet you that style of ash tree, though. Like, come on. Like that might look pretty good. And I think that matches the trees back here, too. So, yeah, that looks a lot better than just having the birch there. It does provide a good amount of shade, too. So, I think that will work perfectly. Alright, let's bring this one down this way. We'll also get the tree here in just a moment. Go ahead and rotate the tree as well so they don't look like all the same here. We'll make this one a little bit lower so it looks like there's a little bit of a difference in these trees. Not a whole lot different though, which is kind of what I'm going for here. But if we zoom out now, if you remember kind of how open that was, now you can kind of see how well that blocks that off. Maybe we need to get rid of those ash trees. I don't know yet. Or these trees here. I'm not 100% sure. But I think it does help. It kind of helps block a little bit more. And for what it's going to do, I think it's going to work out really well. So now let's work on this a little bit longer longer section here of planter. I think I might just use some of the in-game ones because I think I haven't really used these very much. And they're pretty good for what they are, so it's not like, massive. Yeah, just, I don't get to use them very often, so why not try them out a little bit. Also, I thought about doing something like this. That might be a little small. You'd have to use something like a birch tree on that one. Alright, whatever. You know, I just realized something, that I never unmuted the game audio, and so you never would hear. I was just talking crazy. I looked over, I'm like, that's still muted. Alright, now you guys should be able to hear game music. Yeah, I'm only 40 minutes in the stream, that's totally fine. Let's see here. I want to align it to that surface, because that will throw it off. If I do something like this, though, rotate this up, move this down, because I might just want to use this top brick if I can. Like that. And we'll move this over so they have a little bit more of a walking path there. But let's actually, you know, make this look like this more orange rock. I think that'll look, hold on, is this changing the right thing? It doesn't look like it, so let's, there we go. This is more of a faded, down this way a little more maybe a little more orange. I'm really just guessing on this stuff, because I am not a very artsy person. I mean, I can be a little bit, but and like I can see like doing stuff like this. It's like, all right, that looks pretty close. I mean, fair enough. I could just click on, or hold on, I could just click on this and say, hey, what color is this? And then hit escape, move back over here, click on this. Oop, that's not what I wanted to do. And that's not even close. That's actually pretty close. Well, that's actually the one I had. That's actually closer. Alright, I'm okay with that. Now let's go ahead and actually copy this to the other end so we know how long we need to make our planter. Just kind of rotate this 90 degrees. Make sure it lines up still. It sure does. And, like, move it maybe right there. Maybe in a little more this way. I might move these trees out more. Hold on. Go ahead, because this is not going to work. If I just have all these in separate groups like this, it's not going to help me out very much. Add and edit. I think if I slide the trees out more, and then we can put some smaller stuff in here. Let's see here. X to move it. If I do something like this, and move this over to here, like that, then there's plenty of room on both sides here to walk around, and I think it kind of helps break this up a little bit more, or break it up here so that we can move these planters all the way out to the edge here, kind of line the edge here with the line of the columns here. Alright, so, scenery. Let's get a nice, one of the longer pieces here. That'll work. Rotate this upwards. And across like this, and get it into place here. Do. Go. Move this over to here. Get a shorter piece for over here. And there we go. I think that looks pretty good. We'll go ahead and put this, I don't know what we could put in here. Because it is a really small area. I mean, we could probably put a few flower bushes in here. Maybe we actually want to go for one of the, nope, that's not what I'm thinking here. Maybe one of these. That might work out pretty well. Maybe a couple on each end here. And we'll do one more on each end, and why not? And then I kind of want to put a smaller tree in here. As to what, I'm not 100% sure. I'm thinking it'd have to be something like a birch tree. Just to kind of make it a little bit smaller. Actually, is that a smaller one here? I'm kind of looking at these trees. Yeah, that's more than what I'm looking for right here. It almost looks like it was just kind of planted here. So maybe it looks like it was this maybe more of a recent addition, or they kind of just redid all these. So it, gives a little more story, maybe a little more of a timeline of when some of this might have been introduced to the park. So that's pretty neat. I think we at least need to put one more set of bushes around here, just to kind of add to it a little bit more. There we go. So yeah, I think with not too much, I mean, it took us about a half hour to do all this. It's actually about what I wanted here. I think it helps kind of break this up a little bit more. So number one, it kind of serves a couple different purposes. It does help break up this kind of monotony of this whole, brick plaza here. It does provide a nice seating area for people to come and sit and rest for a little bit. But it also, I think, adds a little bit more, greenery in here. If you look above now, we can, you can see that it looks a little more, it looks better to me. At least I think so. And I think people will start using it rather quickly. Look at that. Oh, come on. I see this. Now, fair enough, we're going to walk through the planers a little bit. I can fix that. There is something I can place down so they won't walk through there. Oh, spit on the spit guard, which is that. Well, that's what it's for. Fair enough, but there is something we can place down. It's a potted plant. I believe it's this one. And you know what? Let's pause the game first so it won't, try to lag on me too much. This is a very pirate-themed one, but I think if we place it in the ground like this, number one, might be actually kind of neat to actually place this like right here. Kind of make it look like there's a little bit more to, that, planter. You know what? Hold on. As I'm thinking more, it's like, oh, I could really add a little bit more to this. Let's go ahead and edit this one so I can just add it into this one. But I think if we add a few of those barrels around here and kind of just, make it look like there's some smaller plants growing in here too, I think that'll look pretty nice. Oh, well. Let's go ahead and bring this, rotate it just once, bring it over here. I can do something like this. And let's pull this in a little more. I think that actually looks a lot nicer now. Now, it should, if this is the correct one I'm thinking of, that should prevent. Oop, there we go. That should prevent people from walking through those now. I think. I know this is one of the first methods they found that they could do stuff like this. So yeah, I think that'll work. We also can do it on this side here, although we probably won't have these poking through. Well, on here we can actually probably just use barriers. That would probably work a little bit better. Let's try that. Something like this. Let's rotate this up. We gotta be a little careful with these though, because if we put these, out on our path here, people will not want to come over here and sit. So just gotta be a little careful. That's all. But I think, since this is thin enough, I don't think they'll walk through, they won't walk in between these barriers, so between here, I want to move these out just a little bit more. There we go. And let's go to duplicate these and move them to this side here. We see these in the ground here. Let's see how people react to these. Because they should. They're still able to walk through there, which is what I want. But you can see here they kind of stop at the barrier. They can kind of walk around them a little bit more. And that's more what I want. Although the problem is people are just walking. Oh, so some people are disappearing, which is odd. But others actually are figuring out that you can still walk through here. But that is odd that they're just getting stuck there. Alright, so let's edit these real quick. Let's move these in a little bit more so people can still walk through there. You can kind of see underneath the world here, which is a little bit odd, but you know, sometimes you have to do it. You know, do this for to get under here to get your bears and things like that. So let's just move these in just a little bit more so that people don't despawn while they're sitting here, which is not a good idea. I mean, at all costs, we want to try to keep them in the park rather than just, you know, deleting them from it, which is a bit of an odd idea. But you know, this is Planet Coaster. It's okay. There and there. Come on, give me that piece. Yes, I grabbed something else too, which is not go. Easy one to fix though. Grab this one, and let's go ahead and move these in a bit more. So they might clip a little bit, but hopefully they can still walk through here. It looks like they are, so that's what I wanted. See, look, they're getting stuck there, but it looks like they're still able to walk through there. So that looks like it may have fixed that problem. Because while I do usually build in pause mode, every once in a while I do like just to turn on play and just kind of see what the guests are doing at the park. And it's neat. And it looks like everything's working out pretty good now. Kind of proud of this. I mean, funny enough, I didn't expect, you know, I didn't quite know how I was going to do this yet. I had some ideas of how I wanted to build this area, but I didn't think it would come together this quickly. So, yeah, that's actually, there we go. We've got a nice sitting area here for people to come enjoy the park a little bit more. That is pretty neat. Alrighty then, so let's go ahead and pause it again. So now that we've got that area done, we can kind of turn to our restaurant, to where this episode actually was supposed to start. I'm thinking we need to do, I'm thinking a nice like just a corner. So I'm kind of thinking how I want to do kind of how I want to do this. Kind of looking for exterior. So I'm looking up photos right now, just kind of give me some ideas of how I want to do this. Let's see here. Something like this. Kind of the idea I want is I want to have, it looks like a really nice, like classic pub on the bottom. Then above it looks maybe like apartment buildings. That's kind of the idea, at least. You know, it doesn't necessarily have to be that way, but you know, that's kind of seemed like when I was, you know, doing a little more research on it, I thought it seemed like a lot of pubs are like that, where they're like, if they're in a downtown area, they'll have like this, they'll have like the bar underneath, and there's people that live above it that maybe not necessarily like all the loud music. And so that's kind of the idea of the story behind whatever bar we call this, because I still don't have a name for it yet. Alright, so let's get to work here. I want to take a look at a couple different pieces here. So I want to start with some brick. I don't know if we'll actually keep it, like this whole building will not be brick. Kind of the idea is I want to start out with brick, so I get an idea of how I want to lay this building out first, because I don't think the first floor will actually be on the grid here. I think I'm actually going to build a wood entrance to it, which will actually be more like custom work than actual grid pieces. So I'm thinking something like that for the outside. I've got one. If you guys go look it up on Google, there's one I'm looking at. It's called the Lion Stone. That's kind of what I'm kind of basing this on. At least that's what I'm starting it on. Kind of how I do things like this when I'm coming up with a new idea like this. I'll look on Google to see what's kind of out there what real places like this look like. And I'll start. It's like, all right, cool. I have this. I'll work on it a little bit, kind of off that photo, and then after a little while, I'm like, all right, cool. I'm done with this. I want to start being a little more custom with it, and I think for the most part that works out pretty well. But we'll see how that goes. I do want to make this at least 3 wide, because there is a wood panel piece I want to use. Because it looks very similar to what is in the photo, which I think is kind of neat. And if I can remember where to find it, is kind of the other issue. I'm hoping it's not too large that we can use it still. Don't see it on here. It might be in scenery too, so I'll have to look there here momentarily. But I'll find it in here at least. There it is. This is the exact piece I'm looking for. Like that. I want to darken it up just a little bit. It seems like some of these places are kind of real dark. They're really nice, but it just seems like they're really dark on the, like they're real deep, like real rich brown. Which is, I think something like that would work. There's another piece I'm thinking of, and I think I'm going to have to go over to scenery for this one. Let's see here. I'm going to close that off. I'm going to actually go, I think it's actually in the World's Fair pack. I think. It's a pillar I'm looking for. If I'm not mistaken, there was a... Maybe not. Maybe I'll have to go over here to... It might be in buildings, too. I don't really remember. But there's one I'm thinking of. It also could have been in the Magnificent Rides collection. Or in the vintage section. Hold on, let's look at vintage. Alright, not in the vintage section there. Let's look over here, though. Maybe it's over in scenery, but it's in a different section here. There was a really nice... If I'm saying there was a nice pillar that I'm thinking of that I think will work perfectly here. Although I don't see it. Which worries me a bit, but, oh, think what that was. Where would that have been, is my question. I think it was a column of some sort, so let's just look for a column. C-O-L-U... Alright, that didn't come up with anything that I needed. Let's go back over here. Alright. Anything that might be useful. This might be, so we'll keep this. I don't think that's going to work for me there. I cannot believe I cannot find. That's a little too wide here. That's, I think, the one I'm thinking of here. Let me go ahead and place this down here, and I'll show you kind of what I'm thinking here. If I can get this down there. That is a little tall for what I'm going for here. But we can fix that. I think which one's this color? That one. Let's make this one the brown. I think I'll leave the yellow like that. But I do want to bring this down a little bit. Let's get our archer out, because then we kind of get a little more idea of scale. If you ever watch any other Planet Coaster builders, they'll bring out what they call the archer, and it's this guy right here. Essentially, he's the exact same scale as like an adult in Planet Coaster. And I think he's kind of actually the one kind of standing up like perfectly. So you kind of get an ideal for scale here. So it helps a little bit more, I think. So let's go ahead and slide this into here. I kind of want to see if I can get this to line up with the bottom there. I don't think I have that quite right, the color quite right on that one. Oh, shoot. Alright, let's recolor this. Hopefully that's a little bit closer to what we're looking at. And my archer is now gone. That's great. I do want to cover up the base of that pillar. At least it saved it there. That was a good thing. Alright. Get this. Let's move this over just a little bit more so it doesn't... Yeah, so I just want the end of the pillar there just to kind of cover it up like that. And then on here, there is there's a pillar on each side of this wood plank thing, kind of this texture piece down here, and then there's a door here, and then so we'll have to put some sort of door in. So I look, probably don't. That might work. That might not. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go to the scenery or the building actually to get some doors. So let's look at here, door. So I want to actually have, looks like these doors are open so that guests can walk into and out of it. That'll look pretty nice. Maybe something like that. Yeah, I think something like that will work. Not quite sure though. Let's make the right color here. Let's get this yellow here because I like the color. I think I want to go with this like brown and gold color. I think that looks pretty good. And then if I can sink this in here a little bit, pull this out just a little bit more. I think I'll have them open inward. I think that would make more sense. And then the other reason I wanted to choose this Victorian door is that it does have a double door opening, so you can do stuff like this and get it pretty much right on. Now I need to copy this over to the other side here. Now, fair enough, this won't be the only entrance and exit. I at least plan on doing a couple more, at least. Well, at least one out the back, maybe. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do here. At least one out the back, and probably two more up here, maybe. Something like that. Well, if I can not grab the archer, that'd be great. Something like that. That looks pretty good. And then we add some windows in here. But the windows they have there is it looks like they actually have photos in their window. But it's very kind of gridded, and I don't really think they have any windows like that, nor would you be able to see inside. The not seeing inside I'm okay with because it's not quite, well, we can try to make this work. Hold on. Not seeing inside's okay. I mean, there's going to be a little bit of an interior, but I don't want to show off too much of it because number one, it's a lot of parts to use, and I really want to kind of start being a little more mindful of how many parts I use in this park, just so that we don't run out before we run out of land. It's kind of the idea, at least. But if we do something like this, and move this over like that. It's a pretty good front entrance there, or pretty good front windows, at least. So we're going to slide these over like that. I won't do any, like, I won't, I think over here, we won't do any, well, I'll probably do some windows here. I just don't know what I'm going to do yet. That's kind of the other issue. Because kind of over their doors are actually kind of set back a little bit. I guess we could do that. I mean, it's not like it's hard to do. We'll delete that out. Let's actually make this... let's actually do this a little more efficiently. We'll actually make this one window back at least. Just so that it's a little bit easier scale-wise. We can kind of figure out how we're going to do this. Do something like that. And then we move these back here. I'm trying to think how I want to do this now. Do I want to do something like that? So they pretty much have to walk a little more in, but I think that'll work. Something like that. We'll have to probably custom wall there, unfortunately, but I think this also kind of does us good in two ways. First and foremost, it's going to allow us to kind of build a little more of an entrance here. And I've noticed that's shifted over. Oh, that's why. I'm trying to figure out why in the world is this wood piece so far back, but it's because this brick piece here is actually on the wrong one, and I think that's where I need it. So let's do something like this. What I was saying though is that this will allow us to create a little bit more of an entrance. So when we we're zooming around the park, we can kind of look in here and it's like, oh yeah, there's a whole like entrance area here. There's probably a full interior when there's not really going to be. So that I think will work a little bit better. Let's see here. What does the back of these look like? I'm trying to think because with we're kind of hard pressed to find some wood there, but I think we can do it. But if I did something like this to help cover up that brick, like that. And on the other side, I didn't quite do that, but what I can do is very simply delete it and add these over there. Rotate this around and bring that. Did leave a little bit of a gap on that side. Just kind of eyeballing on this one. Something like that. Like that. I think that'll work out pretty good. And actually, what I could do, and this is probably what I will do, since we're not really going to use this interior very much, I'll rotate this around and just slide a window like that. Move this down to there. And then slide this across like that. There we go. I think it actually looks pretty good. We'll open the doors up here momentarily once we get... I want to put a window up here. I just don't know how I'm going to do it yet. Because I'm also looking for another window to use. And that's kind of the other issue. We have these nice windows like that. And I've thought about using something like that in here. Maybe not quite there yet, but I've been thinking. I really put some thought into this one. I really I like the idea of this, but this is just some. It's still kind of piecing this together too. It's not like it's a perfect idea yet, but we'll probably get it close. That's a little too large for what we're looking for. It's a little more difficult to find what I'm looking for, though. I mean, I could do something like this. Rotate this sideways here. And just kind of slide it in there. the stone texture is what's kind of throwing me off on this one. But will we really care when we really can't see this very often? That's kind of the idea I'm thinking here. I don't know if I will or not. And let's just, since these aren't quite lined up like that. Oh, come on, game. Do we want to do something like that? Just to help, level this off. Because like back here, I don't think you'll care that they're not 100%, they're not 100% perfect, but and so I think that's how we're going to do this. Kind of look at my reference photo here. It looks pretty good myself. So we'll go ahead and rotate these doors like so. And we'll actually kind of, there we go. So they're actually look like they're very, so they're, there's no doubt that they're open. So I think that looks pretty good from what we got. We can put some mini boards out here. I think that'll work out pretty well. Next thing I do want to do though is I actually want to move into place where I want to put this. Let's do something like this. Yeah, I think that probably needs to go a little more to the left, so it needs to be backed up just a little bit more. We'll put maybe a nice statue or like a fountain or something like that right here, just to kind of help fill in this area a little bit. But I also realize that maybe this is off just a little bit, so let's go ahead and rotate this. I think we can bring this forward now. So more to the left. I think it's lined up a little bit better with this corner, and that's kind of what I wanted. All right, so now we got kind of the almost the front done. I've noticed something though, and this is kind of interesting. So this building that we're working on, or at least the one I'm basing this on, is actually not flush with the apartment building above it. It actually sticks out like that. So you'll have, we'll have a little bit more of a roof. We can put a, we'll fill this area in, and then we'll have like a, excuse me, we have a little bit of a flat roof here, which is a bit interesting. And then we actually have the apartment building up. So I think we need to work on that next. I'm trying to think how I want to do this though, because we do have the back of this looks pretty plain, so I kind of want to use the back of this one. We can actually rotate it up here. We'll see what I'm doing here momentarily. Angle snap back on, because on all sides but the back, it does have the that brick texture, but back here we don't have that texture, so we actually can kind of move it in just a little bit here and get that kind of nice clean texture is what I'm looking for here. So I think that'll work out pretty well. Like that. Bring this. Ooh, yeah, we can. All right, cool. So we'll copy this to the other side here. And like that. Perfect. Yeah, I think that's a pretty good thing here. And then it looks like we need to bring some sort of roof out to here, because it's like this is actually kind of inset a little bit from the roof line. So I think we can inset ours very as well. I'm wondering about something here. Just add a little bit of texture to this wall here. We do something like this. Let's try this. I don't know if it's going to work or not, but we'll give it a shot. I need a small one on the end here. You know what? I'm not a big fan of that. So let's get rid of that. And then I'm still trying to figure out how I want to do this roof, and that's why I'm not stalling, but you know, I'm still trying to figure this out. Well, that's not quite what I'm looking for. I'm just trying to get some ideas going. Maybe I can try to find something that would work. Let's go to wood. See what kind of wood we can get. That's the panel we already used. It's not quite what we're looking for. Maybe something like that might be kind of neat across the top here. Maybe. Maybe look at that here in a second. There's some planks I'm looking for that I think we can use to kind of. Not quite it. We can actually use to build up this area a little bit better. Because it looks like there actually is a bit of a not a lip, but there's a bit of a space above here. Hold on, let me kind of get an idea, kind of show you what I'm thinking here. So if we do something like this, rotate this around, slide that. Like so. Just gonna bring this across here. Like that, and then we rotate this. And we make the side like so. And then do the same on the other side. I think that'll work out pretty well. Well, if I can grab both sides, it's kind of the issue. Rotate this 180 degrees. I think that will be kind of the edge of our roof. And then it's a little bit, you know, it's a little bit interesting because it looks like there is like a bit of a lip. There's not a huge lip. There is a small lip around the top part here. And I'm wondering if I can, you know, imitate that a little bit with this. If I can just kind of bring it like that. Bring that across this way. And like that. Now, fair enough, I won't be able to have a corner piece here, which is a little unfortunate, but we're gonna have to just deal with it. I think. Bring it out just a little bit more this way. Like that, and then we'll rotate this one 180 degrees and put it on the other end. And like that. That works pretty good. Now, it's like, I'm still working on this roof. Still have no idea how I want to do this. Could we do just something like this? Rotate this on its back and just, I think we can do that. Alright, that'll work out. I know there's some panels like this. Like they're just big wood slabs almost. And while that might work, I don't think that'll, especially if you look inside of here, it probably won't look the best. So I kind of want to make it look somewhat decent. And then I want to change the color before I forget. Place that one down. That one down. This one down. And I think Can we go all the way out with this one? I think we can, but yeah, not quite, but we can go to about there with it. You know, sometimes it's a little harder to use some of these larger pieces, just because either they're so specific that that they just don't work, or they're or like they don't fit anywhere. But I think that's pretty well and good how we want to do that. We have a little bit of work we need to do under here because we haven't quite got all this covered yet. But we'll do something like that. Got another idea too that just kind of popped in my head, and I'll show you what I'm thinking here in a second. I don't know if it's gonna work yet, but I want to add a little bit more detail into this area, or into kind of the molding and stuff like that, because you know, it just, to me, stuff like this would have a little bit more color to it. So there's that. I think that looks pretty good for, you know, the front of our bar. There's these pieces though I'm thinking of, and they're called icing pieces. See if I can find them really quick. Like icing you put on a cake kind of thing. Now I won't be able to find them at all. I'm gonna look like a fool, but it's not beach. I swear there's something like icing, like icing pieces or something like that. Let me actually try here. I think they're in the main game. They came in the same set as I would say I've always had them, so I think they're in the main game. Let me double check here. Pirates. You know what? There's an easy way to figure this out. It's in the same section as the gingerbread men. So ginger. So this is technically considered main game. Okay, I thought it was. So we can turn that back on here. Close that. So at least we know we're in the right place. At least that's a good thing. Now where this might be at, not 100% sure. I thought it was in somewhat of this section here, so we might be getting close. We might not. Might be even getting further away now, but we'll figure this out. Essentially, what I want to do is I want to, you know, these icing pieces are actually pretty flat, and I want to see if I can create some designs in the wood, like somebody painted, you know, these, you know, gold, you know, they're not like lines or anything. They're very swirly. I think something like that is a little bit more like a fantasy kind of thing, you know, but I think, especially if we're doing something like of England or something like that, it kind of makes a little more sense. I'm just trying to find what I'm looking for, and I don't see this anywhere, and that's not great. What I might have to do, and I don't care to do it, is I didn't even know there were sprinklers in here. Hold on. Huh. Never seen those before. It's amazing what you can find when you just kind of scroll through here. I still don't see these things. We're at the end here. Alright, let's go over to blueprints. Let's go ahead and hit done here. I want to go over to see if there's any gingerbread houses over here. Because if that's true, it's probably going to be on them. I forgot how all these, like, heavy machines, too. These are just custom made from the workshop, so if you want to go on there, you can always find them. Let's see here. I don't see anything. All right, let's switch over here. They might be over here. I don't think they would be because it seems like these would be more, the wall and stuff. I could be wrong. Ginger. Nothing. Oh, it's called a festive house. All right, well, that's not quite what I would call it, but all right. What are these? This is the pieces I'm thinking of here. What are these pieces called? They're called gingerbread icing. Okay. All right, well, let's get rid of that now. Let's go over here. Maybe it's over here. Ginger. Oh, there they are. All right, we're in business now. So this is kind of what I'm thinking about this. If it's a little big. All right, well, this is not starting out well for me. Although that's small enough. This is kind of what I'm thinking here. If I can do something like this. And I don't know if you guys have seen stuff like this, but they'll have like these like crown moldings and stuff like that. They have these it just usually designs like this. It's real swirly. They have lines going through the whole the whole thing here and stuff like that. If I did something like this though, I think I can do something that kind of emulates that, but maybe it's not quite like that. Something like this. I do need to rotate it down first. Rotate it 180 degrees and then pop up like that. And I don't even know if I'm going to like this. I just wanted to give it a try to see what it might look like, stuff like that. Just add a little bit of color. I mean, there's a lot of brown in here, and while we do have some gold, it's not a whole lot. I'm wondering if maybe something like this would help. That's why I want to at least give it a try. Delete this side here. So if I do anything like this, it'll probably be. I'll probably just copy it over. Wondering if I can kind of sneak this. Just want to rotate up 180 like that. If I can just get the white dot to stick out. Ooh, I can't quite. If I rotate it down, though, not probably going to look quite right there. I don't like how that looks there. You know what? I'm not a huge fan of that. So let's not do that. It's a good thought, but sometimes ideas like that just don't work out. But I think we got a pretty good looking front entrance here for our pub here. Now, next thing I want to do though is I do want to start laying out some path and some shops here, because I still want this to be a fully functional restaurant that people can walk in here, grab some food, and either walk out front or even walk out to the sitting area here. And so there's one I'm thinking of here. I do want to put in a. Let's see here. It's not. Is it Dr. Worst or something like that? I do want to put one of those in here. Smoothies, no. Professor Worst. That's what it is. I did want to put one of these in here. I think like bratwurst and metwurst. While maybe not strictly Irish, I think when we think of bar wise, they do have stuff like that. It'd be like a banger. your favorite bangers and mash, it's a sausage and mashed potatoes essentially. Kind of what I'm thinking here. One of the issues though is that these buildings are massive and they don't like playing well with buildings like this. I wonder if we can shrink this down. I want to just see if I can. Can I? Yeah, that's probably way too low for. Yeah, I don't think I can put a path here. Well, maybe that might work. And I can have the lines coming back through here. I'm okay with that. If that works, which let's just if I do it, well, we'll run the path off here. A little torn about this. I kind of like maybe using cobblestone back through here. I think that might work out pretty well. Just to kind of at the front here. Oh, that didn't work. Something like this. If we did a Z. So see if I can use this grid piece here, and then because that restaurant's there, I don't think it's going to let me. Alright, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to delete this one. For right now, I'll probably actually move the restaurants back into the building a little bit more. I think it'll make a little more sense. Let's get rid of that one. And then we can use all this as the entrance here. Like that. I do want to bring this path out just a little bit more. Ooh, I don't know if this is going to let me do this because it's already having some issues. I want to delete that part there. That worked. Alright. This part I'm not as concerned with because we don't see the path here. We can put some barriers up like we did on the footpath up front here and actually get, make this look a little more so people don't walk through the building, essentially is what I'm trying to get at. So let's go ahead and do that really quick here. If you guys see me moving my neck quite a bit, I don't know if I slept on it wrong or what, but I did do something right where my neck meets my shoulder. It has just been bothering me all day. So I've been trying to stretch it out a little bit more, just to try to keep my head moving. To see if I can maybe work out the soreness or whatever. Hasn't really quite worked yet, but well, it does feel. It's starting to feel a little bit better. But I did take some stuff to hopefully keep it on, keep it to where I can still be kind of a little more lively and active like I usually am, and not have to worry about it too much. So let's go ahead and block off this direction here. And here. Hopefully that'll be enough to where people won't walk through the building. We might have to edit that a little bit later, but they should be able to walk through here now. As a matter of fact, we can actually test that. Let's actually add in another Professor Worst here. And see, it's going to have to be like a Professor Worst. I might try to do, I'm trying to think of it to do at least... I forgot we had restaurants in the game, though. I'm not a huge fan of the restaurants. If you guys are curious, like, the restaurants are very similar to the hotels. Essentially, they have a... Did I put the wrong one down? I think I might have. No, I didn't. Alright. Whatever. Because essentially what I wanted... Because essentially a restaurant, all it does in this one is they walk into a black box, and that black box, once they walk into it, is like a restaurant. There's bricks you can set up, but you actually don't see people sitting at tables. I'm not a huge fan of that, and I want to have people like in the very back here, because we probably won't be able to. This building won't be too much larger, but like back here, I want to see people, sitting around the tables here. Maybe they're enjoying the show back here or whatever. But while we're back here, let's see how people interact with the building here. That's kind of what I'm curious about. So it looks like people can very easily, they clip a little bit. We could add some barriers in here. Let me go ahead and do that. Let's see here. It's under scenery. but just a small barrier, nothing too crazy. Something like, well, there we go. Something like there, and maybe something like this, like that. Let's see if maybe they can get in and out of there now, so they don't clip as much through there. It's kind of the idea. We'll see. All right, people. How long does it take for you to order a hot dog? Let's go. All right, let's see if these people can walk out of here now. Yeah, it looks like people can walk in and out of here, so that's pretty good. Now, fair enough, this is going to be a pretty high traffic area, so they're going to walk very fast through here, but it looks like they're actually coming in and out of here without clipping, so that's good. Our maintenance guys are walking by. It's pretty cute. Holy cow, people are now running for the hot dogs. That is pretty funny. They still clip a little bit, and they'll, you know, right at the end they'll kind of pop back out. So, yeah, I think that works pretty well. What I can actually do is actually go in here, and actually move these barriers just into the wall a little bit more, so that they hopefully that clipping with the wall there is not as bad. Something like this. We can even move it out just a little bit more, just so that they'll hopefully pop around the wall. It's kind of the idea, at least. You see, people can still very easily come in and out of here, but as we slow, but people are actually walking around the wall for the most part, and actually walking through the doors. So that is what I wanted. We can sink these barriers at least in. The other ones I'll keep out for now, just in case we want to edit them a little bit later. But I think these two, I think we're pretty sure that this is how we want to do it. Sink these down in there. There we go. And then I think let's actually build the actual like apartment building above really quick. I'm just going to get an idea, number one, how tall we want to make it. Number two, I want to see how much room we think we're going to want to use for the restaurant, things like that. So I think essentially how I want to do this is I want to bring a wall here and here, and we'll make this kind of the back side of the wall here. I think we can. There's plenty of room there, so we can use something like that. So that it looks like there's an enclosed area here. These are what, the 2 meter tall ones, I believe. Yeah. So I've always heard like 3 meters is a good height for a building, or like for a floor here. If we do two stories here, we'll need some more brick. So we'll need to get the 1 meter ones out, and that should be our 2 stories. And I think is it modern brick we got here? We got classic brick here. All right, classic brick. There's classic brick. 1 meter high, please. Something, if I can place it right. Something like that. Yeah, I think that might work. It's not very tall. It looks pretty tall, but it's not quite that tall here. I think that'll work. Now the problem is, if you guys have ever built in Planet Coaster before, you'll know that with the gridded pieces, you can't just move them like you do any other piece in the game. So if we do something like this, we'll need to start. If I want to create, because essentially I want to create I'll show you what I want to do. I want to create a wall that's parallel to this path here. Well, the problem is we can't quite do that since it's on a grid. So we will need to bring it out here. Rotate this as best we can to line up with the path there. And add it here. Now this building will technically be a couple different buildings. Kind of smushed into one. But that'll be just fine with me. So right now my hope, for this stream at least, is let's get the front building done, or at least the facade done, and maybe the restaurants put in. And so we might work on the patio next stream. I might do some of the path work off camera because that can be a little tedious. But I think this will be rather nice once we get all this in here. Let's get more classic brick, the 1 meter there. This looks very plain right now, and it will for a little while until we actually can get, all the panels and everything in here. We're gonna put windows across here. We'll put some different stuff up here. And I'm really wondering what this might look like as a 3-story building. Reason being is this looks a little short. If I do something like that, it does command a presence. However, I just don't know if we need really 3 stories on this building here. I don't know. I mean, it looks kind of nice. If we're going to put some detail here, it actually might look pretty, pretty decent. So let's go ahead and continue with a 3-story building. I think that'll work out pretty well. And these side pods here, like one here, I do want to put one of the restaurants. As to what, not sure yet. But I think we can probably actually move Professor Worst over here. So let's go ahead and do that. Hot Dog Squad. There he is, Professor Worst. I actually want to connect it to this building here. Professor Worst. The path's going to do all kinds of crazy things like that. Awesome. So let's go ahead and just extend it out this way. We can always edit the path a little bit later if we need to. Let's see here. Building. Duh. I think. Do I have it still set to this building? I do not. Alright, well, we can fix that. I know I've been all over the place today, and, sometimes some days it's like that. It just happens, so. Let's see here. Professor Worst. Put him right there. I think that'll look pretty good. I think I want to put one more restaurant next to him. I think we might put all the food on this side, put the drinks on this side. I think that'll work out pretty good. What do I want to put over here? I can put fries over here. It's not the worst idea in the world. Get it? Worst. It's a very bad joke, what that was. Let's see here. A gumball machine. I didn't know we had gumball machines here. That's really neat. Huh. That's pretty cool. Alright, well, what do we put in here? I'm really just thinking Monster Frites. I know we have one in the park still, I think. Alrighty. I think that'll work for this building here, and then we can kind of move this section out this way. What we could do, though, if we really wanted to, just to kind of add to the building here, we could actually make it something like that. So it's like it kind of comes, there's a step down to the building, to where like maybe this is an apartment, but then they didn't add a 3rd story, so they only added 2 stories to this one. Maybe something like that might be kind of neat. Alright, let's work on this side then. Let's actually get this wall built up to where it's even with the rest of it. There's that, and then I want to copy all this, put it out there, then split it from the building. Move this where we want to now. We'll just kind of line it up with the path here as best we can. That looks pretty good, and we'll just move it back into place here. Then we can come back in here. And then do something like this. We'll copy it once and then move down a story essentially, and then we'll place the 2nd story there. So we'll do this and then delete the top 2. And And there we go. I think that will be our main building for our pub here. And now essentially what I'll do is I'll just I'll put a corner here so I'll kind of show you. One of the things I've seen, it kind of makes sense too. I can explain all I want to of how I want to do things, but it's a lot easier if I just show you guys sometimes. So something like that. We'll probably go 2 over and then start bringing it back this way and then across. Something like that. I think that'll work out the best. So do 2 more this way. And we'll do 1 more over here. Well, 1 more building over here. Something not like that, like that. Now I'm kind of wondering how the paths are going to go. That might be a little more tricky. But you kind of get the idea of how this building's going to look. And then I'll probably bring 1 across like this. And like this. So you got a little bit of different elevation in the building itself. Because if you have just like this one plain wall like this all the way across, it doesn't let you look great. But if we can add just a little bit of kind of variety in it, I think it'll work out a little bit better. While we're actually in this building too, let's go ahead and add in our shops. I want to do let's see here. I want to do 2 drink places over here, but I don't know. I'm thinking maybe a Gulpy Energy, because they look like cans of, that might be cans of alcohol. I don't know. The smoothies, it might work pretty good, because, like fruity drinks and stuff like that, that might work out pretty well like that. Alright, let's do some path work. We can actually figure out how in the world we want to get these paths to connect, because that will be a bit of a pain in the butt, but we'll figure it out. Something like this. Bring it out 1. And then maybe if we can... something like that. If we give it its own individual lines, and we can actually kind of curtail this building a little bit and bring it out this way. Can we actually make this maybe a little bit thinner? Like we can, and if we did something like that, that actually looks pretty good. Got something like glasses bugging me. So I think if we can do that for both sides, I think that'll work pretty well to allow guests to get to both sides of the restaurant. I think it'll work out pretty well. And this still goes, so if we cut it off there, this still gives us a pretty big place for a patio and stuff like that, for, people who want to eat outside. So, yeah, I think that's going to work out pretty well. Come on, game. Ooh, there we go. And let's have it connect there first. Actually, you know what? Let's have it connect to Professor Worst first. Try saying that 3 times fast. I bet you can't. I think right there. Then we go to the Worst, and then we go to Monsieur Fritz. That's how they pronounce it. So it's pretty sure it means French fries in French or something like that. Oh, that's not gonna work out. Yeah, I think that worked for both of them. Now, fair enough. If you look in here, this place is going to be an absolute madhouse, but that's okay. It's not perfect. But also, before I do anything else, I do want to put down some trash cans, because I got a feeling if we don't look in here, this place is going to be a disaster area for trash. So let's go ahead and do that, and then we can start actually working on finishing this building off. Something like this, put 1 on this side. Because say, we're not, that's the thing, we're probably not going to see inside here very often, or if at all after we close this up. So I don't really care what the inside too much looks like, but I do want the outside to look pretty neat. So let's see if we can use this building to try to see if we can use this building to actually create the back wall. Sometimes you can do this, sometimes you can't. And I don't think we'll be able to on this. Well, I mean, kind of the idea is I wanted it a little more out that way, like right there maybe. So what we'll do is I want to delete that one. I'll take these two and split them from the building. First and foremost, I do actually want to move these two over a bit. So it's blocking pretty much just the corners of the path there. And then let's do this. We'll edit this one. I want to put out at least one more wall on either side here. Oh, well, it's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to come over here, hit duplicate. There. There. Because it's on a different grid. Might have to shorten that one up a little bit, and we'll have to lengthen this one just a little bit too. Turn down the grid size here. See if we can maybe get that. I don't think it will work because I split it from the building. I don't think that'll work because of it needs to be there. But now we can use this building and build all the way to the top here. Dupe, dupe, and then only one of these. I think I'll have to go over here and actually hit classic brick. Move that up to there. And then I think we can go back here, turn the grid size down a little bit. And I don't think this will be quite, yeah, we'll have to... can I edit this building? You know what, let's line it up with one wall. Once we get it lined up with one wall, we can kind of edit it from there. Alright, let's do this and turn the grid size back down, because for some reason it always resets it, and it kind of drives me a little crazy when I'm working on something like this. I can kind of fill in that area, and I'm okay with that. Same with, can I do it on this side? Not really. I think I can fill in that area a little bit better. Well, that didn't work. And once I figure out all this, I can actually very easily create the notch in here on the very back side, so that won't be too awful hard to do. Let's see here. On this side, also need to finish this or fix this wall. It might be a little more difficult to do, but we'll figure it out. If we do something like, to cut it back to there. I'm going to split this from the building. Unfortunately, this is one of the reasons why it's a little bit harder to build custom buildings like this in Planet Coaster, is just because it does take quite a bit of work just to get a custom building like this. Usually these buildings look a lot nicer, but they can be a very bit of a pain in the butt to actually get to work properly and have everything work or look good too. So, I don't do these too often. I mean, I do like doing them. I've done a couple like things like buildings like this for show buildings for rides, stuff like that. But it's kind of rare for me to do something like this for a restaurant or something like that. But I think this, I haven't done it very often in this park, The Crab Shack is kind of like this, but the Crab Shack was built from a lot of just scenery pieces, so those pieces can be manipulated however I want to. But with brick pieces, though, it's a little bit more difficult. And I like this brick pattern, and while there is brick patterns we can use, I just, to me, I don't think that would have worked out as well. I think I can do that. Oop, well, that's not what I wanted to do. And like that. Bring that like this across. Yes, I did realize that I just put that all into the wrong building, but it works. So I'm not going to worry about it. Like that. And then what I'll do is I'll come back in here. I'll add one to here, then bring this across to here, and that'll be our apartment building. And essentially just a big building that houses all the restaurants here. And technically what I could do, just to make this a little bit easier, now I do realize that, these are nowhere near even, which is fair. It's not perfect, but that's okay. What I can do is I'll put a condiment bar here, so you can get like napkins and ketchup and whatever you need to over here. And over here will actually be our bar area, so that'll actually work a little bit better, so that we have a little bit more area for all the stuff we could use for a bar. And then we'll have all of our other stuff out here. Ooh, got clipped into a ride there. Let's go ahead and work on the front here, because we don't have quite all this done. But let's get that finished. I think what I'll do is I'll just copy these and just bring these around to the side here, because I get a feeling that that's probably what it is. It's probably just a duplicate of the side there. I don't quite have a photo of what a side of these would look like, but I just got a feeling this probably looks something like this. Also, I've noticed that we probably need to move these brick walls here, because not really going to help us out very much anymore. But it's fine. They served their purpose, and now we can put the wood walls there. Kind of notice it does clip in a little much on that one side there. Oh well, I don't think we'll notice it that much when we're zooming around the park. So, there's some things that I'm like, okay, that's just fine for now. So something like that, I think that kind of finishes off the front area of the pub area. Let's actually work on some windows. I'm kind of in the mood to kind of finishing this scene up, so we can kind of, just from like right here, we can kind of see what would be a pub here. So let's get some windows in. What kind of windows? They really have more of a, it looks like almost wooden style window in the photo at least I'm looking at. Something like that. But if we rotate them upside down, we can get like a sill in there. That's kind of not a bad idea. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to place this down here. Let's also let's look up the sill, because there was a sill, I think they're right there, but I think I've already typed them in here. There's some small sills that I think would work really well with this building. Just to give a little bit of a little more depth to it. I think that looks pretty good there. Actually, just raise it up just a little bit more there. So these are kind of gray, and these are actually green. Funny enough, on the photo I'm looking at. So let's actually just keep them green. I think that work out pretty well here. Let's make sure they're centered before we move on. Like that. Last thing we need to do is just move them into the building just a little bit. Now the one I see, right, or the one I'm looking at, they're actually inset into the walls, and we can't quite do that But I think we can do something like that. And I think what we're going to do is I'm just going to do it like this, where there's an edge here, I think. Something like that. And we'll split this kind of like that. And like... I don't know why it did that, but it did. Come on. Come on, game. This game's having a heart attack, I think. There we go. Let's get this. I think it actually, for some reason... Alright, so why? I think this is part of that bug that I was talking about earlier. It was orientated just fine, and all of a sudden now it doesn't want to rotate the right direction. Nothing. Alright, well, that sucks. Let's see if this one's maybe a little bit better. Nope, not at all. Well, this is not going to look great, but we'll figure it out. Let's be over more. Like this. Yeah, I think that'll work. And so now what I want to do is copy all these and put them on the third story. Well, third story, kind of in quotation marks. I'll be honest with you, there's probably not a... there's probably just the one floor here, and these are just kind of fake windows. But I think... I've been kind of looking at this, and this looks very... this looks very, you know, plain. It's a very white wall, and so I think... Why in the world... Oh, there we go. I'm only selecting one thing, and it was not working as I thought, as it should. I'm thinking if we add just a line of, just a different color, a little bit darker shade, I think that'll help break up some of that white in there. Just a little bit. I think it looks pretty good. So there's that. Just kind of go down this way. I think I want to do the same on just below here, like that. It's gonna make it look like a pattern that maybe there was a little bit of a repetition like that. I don't think I'll put any windows there because I don't know. I'll do something here and here. I don't know quite what I'm going to do yet. But yeah, I think that looks pretty good. It's not perfect, but also I'm looking at this. They actually have a bunch of flowers on these windowsills. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and there's some like planters down here. I think that's a little too it's a little too large what we're looking for here. There's some like window box ones like this. I'm wondering if I can just place them like along the windows here. Just to kind of make it look like that maybe people are living up here. Now, of course, we know they're not, but, you know. Let's give a little more sense of, kind of, what might be going on here. It'd be kind of neat. I think. What did I put on the end here? I'll put one of these. Let's go ahead and just move this down to here. It'll also help bring a little more color to this area. Now, the other thing I saw on here, there actually is a clock face. I want to see if I can put, or see if there is a clock. I know there's a couple clocks in here, but they're pretty big. That might be... Actually, might not be too bad. There's a small clock face. Let's see how this looks. That's not too bad either, and I think this one might be a little large. Yeah. This one's actually not too bad. I'm going to put this off to the side here, and I got an idea on what I want to try to do. There is some... if I can find, like, there is kind of like these, but I think they're a little bit larger, like how we use at the base of the pillars here. Because on the one I'm looking at here, it's actually not flush against the wall. Looks like they've kind of built out a little bit more, and they stuck it on the side of the building, but it's... you know what? I think that's not quite going to work. I have an idea of what I want to do, and I kind of want to do what they've done on here, but I think that... I mean, I can do it. It's no big deal. I can do stuff like this, but I just kind of want... There's a part of it that I wanted to do on the very bottom, and I'm not 100% sure if I can do that. I do want to match the wood, though, because the gold and the clock will kind of match the gold we have on the building itself. So we're doing something like this. And drop this. You know what? We'll line it up kind of in the middle of both floors here. Like this. And I don't know how big I want to make this yet. Let's go ahead and do this. Move. Move this clock over here. It's like I need to make it about 4 wide. And then if I use this and then shrink it, move it into the wood like that, I think that looks pretty neat. I think that'll work for what I'm thinking here. And let's go ahead and highlight all this. X. Because for some reason, this is actually flush with like the path. Or what would be the path on our game. It's a little bit different on the road there. So it's not quite even, which is it's interesting. It's something I wouldn't think of. But so if I do something like that, hopefully this works. Not quite. Alright, well let's sync these two together. So they're a little bit closer to each other. And then hit OK there. And let's grab the last 5 pieces of this one. If it lets me. There we go. Let's rotate this one maybe one more. That looks better. We can move it in like this. Maybe line it up with the center here. That actually looked pretty good. I didn't know how that was going to look, but I like that. Now, on the very bottom of it, it kind of steps almost like one of these, but very shallow. So I'm trying to figure out how I want to do this. And I'm thinking the only way I'll be able to do something like this is just doing it by hand. Throat's going out a little bit. Let's see here if I can. I'm going to turn this like that. Try that again here. I want to line it with this surface here. Rotate this down like that. Now if I can get underneath here. Kind of line it with the corner here. This is not quite it's a rectangle. It's not quite a square. So it's going to be a little more difficult, but I think something like this. And then if I take this. Now, the one in the photo I'm looking at actually sticks out from the wall, so you could have a perfect square in here. But I think with what I'm doing, I think it will be just fine. I actually want to move this over to there. Now let's go ahead and move another one down a little bit more, like so. And like that. just kind of keep working this, or working our way down until we get I think we get to a point where maybe just one, which might be this level here. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. Like that. And like... I'm going to be quite one, but... something like that. Just to kind of show it, it's sticking out the building a little bit and gives a little more design just to having a flat bottom there. That looks pretty good. Now the top here, it looks like they actually have some sort of box on top of it, like just a decorative box, and I don't know how I would quite do that. Unless, what if we put a planter on top of it, like like one of these box planters? I think that might look pretty nice. If it doesn't interfere with the clock, why not? Something like, maybe something like this. Have to be a wood one, I think. I think that would work. Let's see here. Would the large one work better up there? The large one actually might work better up there. Yeah, I think that'll work a little bit better up there than the smaller one. And if we can get it this side going here. It's not bad. I think what we could do, though, is add just a little bit of wood in the very back here. Just to kind of help, show that there is a little bit of support behind it. I'll show here what I'm talking about. Something like that. Let's pull it back just a little bit more like Sue. This out this way, and then rotate this like that. We can even do a little bit of a step up here. No, probably I'll just do one, but something like that. We do need to, if we do that though, we need to move this over to kind of match that one there. There we go. I think they're pretty neat little not a clock tower, but kind of the nice decoration on that side. Kind of just do something a little different, and I like how that looks. It also gives a clock in the park. Funny enough, if you look at amusement parks, they're kind of hit or miss on whether they have clocks or not. I mean, fair enough. Nowadays, we have our phones, we have our watches, stuff like that, and we can very easily tell the time. But, in an amusement park, you don't really think about it. Sometimes you don't even have your cell phone on you because you want to, make sure you don't lose it on a ride or something like that. If you think of Disney has quite a few clocks all over the place. If you ask an employee to, you can always figure out what the time is. But where I worked at Kings Island, I'm trying to think. There was a garden clock they used to make, which is really neat. They actually made a clock out of plants that actually worked. Usually it's pretty neat to see that. And then there's a couple other clocks put around the park, but there's not very many at all, to be honest with you. I think Disney does that a little bit better, just kind of time-wise, but, it's interesting. I don't think I have another clock in this park, so... And I think just kind of integrating this into that building, I think it makes it look really nice. So I think we've kind of got the general idea of how this is going to work out the front here. I think it really kind of changed this plaza too. It kind of closes it off a little bit more, because it felt very open before. Now it seems like we've got two nice paths going through here, and that's kind of what I wanted. Nothing really, too crazy, but I think it still works. Now, I think what what I'm gonna do, I want to try to put some either like advertisements or like something here that's a little bit larger, kind of like maybe an old advertisement that's kind of faded a little bit, or I might put the name of the restaurant here and have like, hey, back patio is this way, and come join the party or whatever, something like that. I think that might be kind of fun. Because it is a little bit smaller than this side, which it's fine, and that's probably why this back area is a little bit off, because I didn't realize, I just realized now that this wall here is actually three blocks long. This one's only two. But that's okay. We'll figure it out. That's what we always do, and keep moving forward. I'm starting to run out of steam here. I'll be honest with you. We only got about 45 minutes left of the stream. I might cut it a little bit short. I may not. I don't know yet. I know we cut it about this time last week, but that was kind of unintentional. But my throat's starting to give me fits, and my shoulders still act up a little bit, but it was not as bad. But it's still not. It's a bit of a pain in the neck, to be honest with you. Pun totally intended there. Or not a pun, but you get what I mean. I guess we can start working on the patio a little bit, though. If we bring a path up this way, I want it to run right along the building, so we don't really have to curb that side. I'm going to bring this one straight out like this, and then we can kind of better connection maybe. If I maybe bring this path here, and then do something like that. Does it connect on the inside? It does not. And we can actually put barriers up here to make sure people don't walk through the building there. We want to do the same on the other side here, and we could. Well, especially since we're going to probably put that sign on the other side here. Let's see if we can maybe sneak a path along the building here as well. Something like that. Yep, it's not liking the other path being there. Alright, well, that's unfortunate. We'll have to maybe figure out something. Maybe, what if we just bring it straight out here? And then like that. Well, we can even do that, but I'll leave it for now. I think that's so we're going to do that part. We got to remember, we're going to put a stage probably here, because I want to have, like, be able to have some shows here. Just kind of like a live band or something like that. I think that'd be kind of nice. And then I want to have a little bit of a stage, and then some facade to kind of make it look like a back alley here. So there'll be a facade probably here and across here to kind of section this place off. But I'll probably do like a box almost, so that it gives this ride a little more atmosphere too. I just think that might work out pretty well. So let's actually go ahead and start maybe drawing this path straight out this way. I think that will be perfect. Something like this. Because right now, I want to have a good sized seating area, and that's kind of the issue. I'm kind of curious what this curved path is. What I'm contemplating how I'm going to do this. Because I like having the path right along the building there. I think it looks really nice, but nice does not make it functional, unfortunately. What if we just made a little cross here? Something like that. Let's redo all this, actually. Can we make it... Nope, we can't quite do it there. Alright, let's not do that then. We can do something like... Can we do something like this? Well, we could actually make all this brick, but, I'm okay with that. What if I nuke this? We actually then select this grid here, and then we can make just a path out there, and we can edit this a little later. I think that's actually not a bad way to do things. Once again, facades here. I'm trying to think, how far do I want to go out with this grid before I start bringing it back in. Maybe something like that? Maybe? Let's see how this looks real quick. Let's get all this filled in here. Something like that. Something like this. So remember, we're putting our the bar here, kind of this like 4x3 section there, or 4x1, 4 across 1 up here, kind of like that. Condiment bar over here. Can we do another path maybe through here? We can, just to help them walk around here a little more. Probably would not be the worst idea. We can even put the condiment bar here and just have a little more advertisements, stuff like that on this wall. Don't know quite. Probably put some planters maybe along here to help kind of seclude this area a little bit more. But I think this will be a pretty good sized seating area. We put our stage here, kind of in this general area. We can put just seating around here, and then have our bar here, and I think this actually might not be the worst idea in the world. And it kind of fills in the area I wanted it to, because it's a bit of an odd area to fill in. Because I didn't want to put a ride here, because I already have my rides planned out. But yeah, I think this will be a pretty good little area. At least I think it will be. I could be totally wrong, but maybe that's just me. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out. You know what? We can always, I don't want to start too much. We only got a half hour left, and I really don't know what else to do. But what we could do is just kind of plan a little bit more, so that when we come up next week, we can kind of just jump right into either finishing this building off, which we might do a little bit before we leave today. But we can kind of start working on like the stage and the facades back here and things like that. So let's take a look here and see what kind of. You know what? We'll need to get a picnic benches. What kind of benches do we want to put back here is kind of the other thing. I mean, we could do something like just a normal picnic table. But I was thinking, because this is a little more. That's not really what I'm looking for here. I think this is a little too themed. Same with the fairy tale one, because I don't think I can change those colors. Which kind of stinks, because if I could change the colors, those would be perfect. But, I can. If we change it to that color. The more I think about this, the more I'm like, I kind of like that idea. Let's see here. Let's mark out our area for our stage first, so that we don't accidentally build over it. We'll do it in just some beams. I think that'll work. The 8 beam might be a bit much. Let's do something like this. Something like this. We can just move this around like this. Now, is that a big enough stage, or do we need something a little bit bigger? I mean, it's only a 4x8, which is not huge, to be honest with you. You know what? Let's extend this just a little bit. We'll put a 2-meter beam, so we'll make it a 6x8. I think by the time we can put like stage, things like lighting and the rig and stuff like that above it, I think that might be a pretty good size stage, or about the right size, I would say. Let's do something like that, and then let's copy all that. throat is just, I'm trying to speak and it's not wanting to cooperate, which is not great. Let's use some scenery. Oh, let's go back to scenery. Is it scenery? Yeah, it's scenery. We'll get the fairy tale stuff. It's a little themed, a little more themed than I like it, maybe. But it kind of does fit with the kind of the theming I was going a little bit going for here. I might change these a little later, but you know, for now I think they'll work. We can actually see our guests using these picnic tables and see if they actually would even consider walking back here to eat. Something like that, and like that. Let's see here. I'd like to leave this area a little more open, just so that people can walk in and out here relatively easily. Yeah, funny enough, I'm actually this reminds me of another restaurant at Kings Island called the Fest House, because there actually is if you actually go there, it was the other kind of big restaurant. It was actually the biggest restaurant in the park, I believe. But essentially, it was the only or it was one of the few indoor ones, and while it didn't serve like bratwurst and metwurst, which it probably should have, it did actually have live shows like this. You can actually go in there and watch the show. I think there actually was 2 shows, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, they change the shows out every year, but there were different shows that you can come in here and watch, and that's kind of what I'm doing here. Now, this is going to be outside. That's, fair, but I think this will still look pretty nice. Let's see here. I'm kind of trying not to impede the path too much. It's something like this. I think that'll be good for that section here. It's something like this. Because right now I'm kind of in also the kind of idea where it's like, all right, how do I want to lay these tables out? And I mean that would work, but is that too many tables? There is a balance where you gotta kind of get the idea of how much space you're going to give people, how much room you're going to give each table and things like that. So I think that looks pretty good there. I think so far this is actually shaping up pretty good. Now, if you can imagine, this is a little bit hard because I can't really build it quite yet. But you have facades all the way around here, kind of like this one, maybe only like 2 stories, maybe a little bit, some a little bit taller than others. As you can kind of walk through here and around here. There'll be some planters here. There's some nice bushes. These are actually a little bit more manicured and things like that. I'm thinking about actually doing what they call fairy lights, or just kind of these real small lights that kind of string from each building, kind of between here. I think it look kind of neat, look like they're throwing a party. I think this is a pretty cool idea. Because I think it'll work out too. You know what? I actually don't want to put tables there or there. So let's go ahead and move these. Actually, let's move this one over here. Start putting the tables up over here. And we'll do it there, and there, and there. So now we have a nice, we can start putting some on an angle over here. Too much for there? Maybe not. I'll leave this area open for now, just so that until we get the bar built, and then when we build the bar, we'll figure out how much room we have here. If we want to place more tables out here, or we want to leave some area for like guests to be able to line up here. I think that'll be pretty cool. Let's go ahead and play and see if anybody wants to actually come back here at all. Also, while I'm thinking about it, we do need some trash cans over here, because this will not be good if we don't have any trash cans back here. would be really cool. This is just me thinking, but I know there's some great people on the Theme Maker's Toolkit. I'd love to see if somebody would make an Irish band, like, or not really, maybe not, maybe not like total, it doesn't have to be, I guess, Irish, but I want to have somebody, I want to have like a full band, guitar, drums, bass, something like that. I'd love to have somebody playing bagpipes. I think that'd be hilarious. I know that's a little more Scottish, but I still think that'd be just a fun thing. The funny thing when we were while I was talking with my dad. There's a band that we both like. It's a band called Off Kilter. If you've ever been to Disney's Epcot, it's been a couple of years, but they actually used to play there in the Canadian Pavilion, and those guys, you could almost hear them halfway across Epcot. They were pretty loud, but it was a really neat band to listen to, and that was one of my ideas. It'd be kind of funny to actually have a band like that for this stage here. And so, if I could find, if somebody made those, it'd be amazing. I don't know how that would all work. I know it'd be animatronics. I mean, that's fair. But hey, kind of interesting still. Let's see. It seems like there's a few people using this area, mostly just to kind of sit down and relax. But that's okay. Maybe they just wanted us to come see the show eventually when we get it there. So yeah, that's okay. It looks like there's a lot more people starting to get some food and walking out this way. Still have to work on that building here, but it looks like there's a few people that's walking from the inside here to use the patio. Maybe they're just walking on their way. It doesn't look like there's many people stopping, but that's okay. Yeah, I really like how this area is starting to turn out. I'm starting to get the idea out of my head and onto not onto paper, but into the game here. And I think that's it's starting to work out pretty well. I think this is going to be pretty nice. One thing we should do though, because we got about 25, 27 minutes left. Let's go ahead and try to finish off the building here, at least the structure. So we'll try maybe put a roof on it. We'll see. But I do want to try to get at least all the walls up, and so it's pretty easy to finish next time. Let's go ahead and do the 2, and then we'll just come over here, grab 2 of those, pull those up over this way, like that, and we'll come over here to this building, and put those up there. Maybe. There we go. This is not going to be an easy building to put a roof on, I'll tell you that right now. But, we'll figure it out. It'll be a little difficult. It'll probably be better if I can find something that I can use scenery pieces for instead of the gridded roofs. But that's okay. We'll figure it out. Edit this building here, and what I'll do is all these shows, or the shows like this, always have some sort of sound check or something like that. They'll not only sound check, but they'll have somebody on a switchboard operating these. So what I'll do is I will I'll actually I'll probably put a soundboard-esque area up here, maybe. That somebody could actually walk. We'll have a staircase somewhere, or maybe inside here. We can even imagine there's a staircase that they can go up, and then we can actually have them pop out of this, pop out of a door here, and actually be up in a booth. I think that'll work. I think that would be kind of neat too. So let's see here. Split this from building. I'm just gonna move this to right there. That works out pretty well. How do I want to do this roof now? It's one of the hard things. Like, how do I want to do it? But I wonder if maybe using the no curve pieces that we've used for everything um, from like tiling and the other building pieces to temples, stuff like that. I think something like this. Oh, didn't make it. Forgot to turn the snapping back on. Like that. Rotate this back into place here. Let's see here. Something like that. What if we made this a real dark color? I'm thinking like not quite black, but that might actually be better. It's got a bit of a shader on it, so it's not, you know, like super dark black, but if this will work, let's rotate this like so. If that. And let's keep moving this down like so. Really need to put this into a building somewhere, but for now I think we'll be okay. Get that. Think right in there should work. Put that into place. Only one more for this end here. Then what I can do is actually just duplicate this one, have it aligned to this surface here. Or not, we can probably just need to get a new one, that's okay. Do something like that. And rotate that up and up like that. Make sure this lines up with the rest of them. I didn't think it did, but get this moved into place here. There. Ooh, well, the camera's not going to cooperate here. Go. And then we need to repaint it to the correct color here. And place it there. And then we probably need, what, one or two more? That one. And this last one there. It's pretty good so far. Now, fair enough, this is going to be a flat roof. I understand that. I mean, I don't think there's any way. I probably will do some like pitched roof area here, but it won't actually be like the main part of the it won't be part of the main roof area. It'll probably just be flat, which is okay. You know, it's not perfect, but this is what this park is not. This whole park is not perfect, and that's okay. This park is just, you know, number one, for me to have fun, and number two, just kind of get ideas like this out. And you know, if it works, great, and if not, we can always, you know, come back later and try something else. It's kind of the beauty of games like this. All right, so let's try and move this roof part here. Let's get it moved up to the next part. Up there. What's the next part? Come on. Like that. It's more of a funky shape. I didn't think, because I thought it was going to be more of an L, but this is like a little more of a funkier shape. But you know what? It makes it a little more interesting that way, though. I think it does. Alright, let's take this section now. Let's take maybe 3 or 4 of them. Copy them. Shift it all the way up. Like that. Over like this. It looks like we might have to lower this down just a little bit. Like so. that over to there, and then we'll do one more. And then we'll just need to fill in these little corner areas there, and I think we can call this part completed. At least the structure completed. I don't know if we're going to be able to do. Well, we actually might be able to do this. Move it in just a little bit more. Just to pop out that side, so that looks pretty good. And we can come back in here with one of these pieces, and like that, and like that. And then one more to right there. We need to move this last piece because it's sticking out just ever so slightly there. Move it back into there. And there we go. And we'll do one. We'll do a little bit more. We'll do the pitched roof, and I think that's where we'll end the stream for today. So I want to get some brick out. We'll use the same kind of style of brick, kind of help tie the building together a little bit more. I do want to use the 1 meter slopes. I'll show you what I'm kind of getting the idea for here. Let's use that and that. So you see here, let's see here. I want to turn down the grid section. Let's see here. If I do that and that and that and that. Now let's kind of just move it back slightly to there, there, and there. Now we put some. Do we have any glass roofs? I don't know if we do or not. Not really. So let's do this. Let's do a window. I've done this on a different... I did this kind of on a much larger scale. I actually did a whole glass dome like this. There's these windows like this. They're just plain glass window, or they look like just plain glass windows. With the metal bits in the middle there, or kind of as a frame. So what I can do though is use these. Let's actually rotate them like this, and there, and there. And I'll move these down to there. Boosh. And then see how we can line these up a little bit to kind of make it look like they're one window there. Move all these up like so. Now put it this way. So I have two other parks that I've built before this one. That they're nowhere near done. Let's just put it that way. However, I did use that time to kind of learn how to play this game a little more properly and to do more creative stuff. And one of these, I actually did create a big dome for a queue line. Almost looks like a planetarium kind of idea. And it was for a sci-fi themed area. And that was actually still one of my bigger things like this. So quite like how that one turned out. And maybe I don't know. I'll show it off sometime on stream, because it's a pretty. It was for what little skill I had. It was actually turned out pretty well. It just took a little while to actually get into, but yeah, I think that it worked out pretty nice. Now you can kind of see how I wanted to do, or what I wanted to do with these roofs. Let's do a column. Let's see if I can just find like a metallic column or something like that to put into here, just kind of fill in that gap. I mean, it's gonna be easier said than done. Fair enough. Iron column for 6 meters. That might be a bit large. Yeah, I think that's gonna be a little too large. there's some. I just want to see if I can find a square one. That'd be kind of nice. Although this might work out pretty well, though. I think we can turn it up on its side here. Something like that. And like so. Now we take these and we just duplicate it to the other side here. Hopefully they'll stay together. Just a bit more on this side. And we slide these into there. Look at that. Looks really nice. I think we'll do some like crown molding around like the top there. Just kind of helps it off. But I think that's kind of how the roof's going to go. I really like how it's turned out. It's a little more than I expected. But yeah, it looks really nice. So yeah, I think that's what we're going to call it a stream, guys. So if you guys had just joined us a little late, the last couple of weeks we've been working on Thunder Falls back here. We actually got that completed. If you guys want to rewind, at the very beginning of the episode, I kind of show you what we've done. At the beginning of this episode, the first kind of 45 minutes or so, we did work on the seating area right here. Looks really nice. This is kind of a generic sitting area, nothing crazy about it. But I did wanted to break up this plaza a lot because it was just a huge slab of concrete and brick. So I think, adding this seating area really broke it up, added a little bit more color to it, and added some functionality and some benches and things like that to this area, which I think this area was lacking a little bit. And then we started working on our pub here, and I think the front facade of this pub is looking really nice. We do have the functional restaurants in there, so that's all good. We need to fill in these little grass areas here. But this is kind of what the basic building of the pub is going to look like. You'll enter here, and then you actually can go in and get your food. And as you work your way around back, we actually have started on our patio here. And you kind of get the idea of this is going to be a little bit more of a party area. There's going to be facades along here, so you'll be kind of almost like a little enclave here. Then we'll put our stage here. We'll put our bar back here, which will probably be next episode. And we're going to finish off the molding here. We'll put some more windows up just to add a little more decoration, so it's not as bland back here. But yeah, overall, I'm really kind of happy how this building turned out. And it came together a lot quicker than I thought. I figured this might be 4 or 5 episodes almost. Maybe not that much, maybe 3 or 4. But, the way we've been going, we might be able to get it done maybe next episode. It might be maybe 2.5 episodes to get it done. But yeah, I'm really happy how this turned out. And, I don't... I think we can just keep pressing forward with it. But yeah, guys, that is going to be it for the stream. I do go ahead and save the park really quick so that we don't lose anything because, after what happened last week, it's not ideal. But guys, thanks for watching again. I really do appreciate it. If you guys are new here, please consider leaving a follow on Twitch. It really does help. We're at 28, I believe, at 29, so we're almost 60% of the way to the 50 follower goal, which is absolutely awesome to see. But if you're watching this later on YouTube, I still do appreciate you. Go ahead and leave a like and comment if you guys like this video. If you guys have any tips or anything like that, or maybe some ideas for the park itself, I'm always glad to listen to some feedback, either positive or negative. If you guys didn't like something, let me know. But if you guys are wanting to, if you're watching this later, if you guys want to watch a stream live, you can always check out my Twitch channel. There actually is a schedule on there. But I do stream usually every Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Tuesdays we play a tycoon game like Planet Coaster, or something along those lines, maybe a little more creative. Thursdays we've been playing some older games, or older looking games. We played Stardew Valley. Currently we're playing through Sid Meier's Colonization, which is a great game to play as well. And on Fridays we've been playing Mech Warrior 5. Really been expanding our mercenary group. Really been doing really well with that. Been really enjoying it, and hopefully that'll stay on the channel for a little while longer. So if you guys want to come out 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, it's a great time. There's quite a few people in the chat just hanging out. We do chat with each other, so if you guys have any questions for me, you can always drop by and say hi, ask your questions. I have no problem answering to them to the best of my ability. I'm not the I'm pretty informed, especially on stuff like amusement parks and things like that. So, well, guys, I think that's gonna be it for today. I will see you guys on Thursday for some more colonization. So I hope you guys see you guys then. Take care for now. Have a great Wednesday, and I'll see you guys on Thursday then. Bye for now, guys.